the next two, which was Nintendo and AMD, because there's AMD chips in the Switch, I think. So that kind of works as a grouping for me. Nintendo's was a little bit soft. So they generally give you the highlights first, so I will give you them. So 3.43 million Switches shipped. So that's 111.08 million now lifetime shipped. So I think that's still pretty strong, strangely, for a console as old as it is. Switch Sports, the game, 4.84 million copies. Mario Strikers, 1.91. Kirby, 4.53. But this ended up with hardware down 22.9% year over year and software sales down 8.6% year over year. So as good as those numbers are, not good enough. If you convert them back to dollars, I've done that for you because I'm nice. 2.31 billion in revenue, which is down about 4.7% year over year. Operating profit was about 763 million, which is down 15.1% year over year. They did reaffirm their profit guidance for the year, so I had a look at Sony's earnings as well. Their PlayStation report was so soft, and I think Nintendo's probably got the better lineup coming. So yeah, I'd expect software sales continuing supporting this declining hardware sale in the midterm. EA's CEO remarked that the world is currently on vacation, and he might be right. It has been a while for us. AMD, on the other hand, was a monster. Revenues beat consensus. They beat on gross profit, gross margin, operating income, operating margin, adjusted EPS. The guide was a little bit soft on revenues and gross margins. They were 2% under what consensus. But AMD looked really strong, growth in the 50s for a company as big as this. I mean, we talk about the law of big numbers a lot. They were doing $6.5 billion in revenues, up 56%. Steve, how do you feel about that?
AMD was interesting. I thought the market reacted reasonably poorly to their earnings, and I was trying to figure out why. And one of the kind of reasons that I saw being mooted around is that because they are basically in a duopoly with Intel, where it comes to sort of x86 chips and so on, and Intel was so bad, AMD were kind of expected to outperform by more, and the fact that they didn't caused people to be slightly disappointed a little bit. I don't have much of a view on AMD. This is a part of the sort of semiconductor race that I stay away from, if I'm honest with you. I mean, I stay away from pretty much all of it, to be honest, but especially this kind of thing. I've vaguely managed to get my head around what the economics of the business look like, but I'm convinced that I don't understand moats in this area at all, because insofar as there should be a moat that I can understand, it ought to be on Intel's side, and it pretty clearly isn't. So, one I tend to give the swerve to. Paul, you own a semiconductor stock. I know it's not this one.
Yeah, I don't understand this week at all. Obviously, what I don't understand the most is what happened to Intel. What the hell happened? And I've seen the CEO's smiling, smug face at his reveals and on his earnings calls, and I was just like, "What are you saying, mate? You've got nothing to stand on here." He's going, "Oh yeah, everything's going well. All the development's going perfectly. Moore's law is still on track." And I'm like, "Oh, no, that's definitely curving off, mate." And he's just going, "But this quarter was really disappointing." And I really don't know what's going on at Intel at the moment. Some people I've watched previously have called this as terrible stock, and they've called it well. But with the investment coming on, with the CHIPS Act coming in, why isn't Intel just able to bump that? Did they do a debt release? They did a massive debt call, didn't they, recently? Did I see that somewhere? One of you two must have posted it to me.
I did. I think I posted that to everybody else because on the Discord, because I was just wondering what the hell they were actually planning on doing with that. Steve's point's a really interesting one. Sorry, just to roll back a little bit. I guess AMD's earnings to me didn't show that they stole a massive amount of market from Intel, but it did show really how poor Intel did perform. That their customers just didn't buy their products. AMD's customers still bought theirs, and that's to me is even worse for Intel than it is potentially for AMD. So, I mean, I can't buy the stock because I find AMD like one of the trickiest things to value in the world, because I think that there's just no moat in this section of the market, and it seems to be like there was times when AMD was completely going under and Intel was reigning supreme, and then it seems to have flipped so quickly. And who's to say that in a year or two's time AMD's got too big for its boots and Intel just comes roaring back? I just think there's just no way you can play this market safely. I think the way we are doing it at the moment, Paul, is the right way. The ASMLs, the KLAs, the Applied Materials, those kind of companies that we've all owned at various stages are the right ways to play it, because whoever wins, we win.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just to point out, since 1995, that race between Intel and AMD has switched about 3 times. This isn't new. If you go back to 1995, I remember probably when I was really young, and we got one of our first PCs, and it came with an AMD chip, and the guy who sold it to us was like, "This is the best thing now. These are smashing Intel inside out the water." I remember it clearly. I must have been 10, something like that, and that's what people in the shops on the internet and things are saying to the customers at the moment. It's exactly the same thing. I do wonder if one day it'll all switch back, and this is just a big cyclical thing that we're in between the chip designers, and really TMC's ahead more than anyone on this. And that's probably another big problem for Intel. I know we're talking about a lot about Intel rather than AMD here, but AMD's a designer, TMC's a manufacturer, Intel is a chip designer and manufacturer. Maybe it's spreading itself too thin. There's all these things going on, and AMD seems to be the better product. It is the better product at the moment, and you can see the customers flocking to it. And unfortunately, that's the story right now. Whether that's still the story in the future, I have no idea. I am out because of that.
Yeah.